Are you a Midwestern millionaire who's in the 2% club that we talk about all the time on this YouTube channel, where you may have done a great job up to this point to where you have financial freedom, which means that you can do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want. And so you've probably realized, or maybe still coming to the realization, that you can spend more money than you maybe ever expected during your retirement, knowing that you have a pension, which is a guaranteed income for the rest of your life, knowing you have a higher net worth so that you can take withdrawals from your investments on top of that pension, knowing you may get Social Security as well, will put you in a spot that only 2% of the population is in, because only 20% of people have a pension, only 10% of people have $1 million or more. And if you have both, you are in a unique situation, which gives you more opportunity. Now, with all of that opportunity becomes more concern with maybe potentially higher taxes and more things to be worried about from a planning standpoint. But that's why we exist. That's why we have this channel. That's why our firm serves this crowd, knowing that it's typically someone who people don't really talk about as much. And so if that's you, you're in a great spot here today as we break down this consideration of leaving a legacy if you have a pension. And we're going to help you better understand what to do with this wealth that you've accumulated up to this point. Should you gift it to loved ones? Should you give it to charities? Or should you maybe just consider spending it all? But if you're watching this video, those first two are probably very important to you. So we're going to give you some tips and some takeaways to really start considering in your planning to make sure you're making the most of your pension and not leaving any money on the table.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So if you're looking to leave a legacy with your pension, let's break down some of the strategies and considerations. The first thing to consider is maybe you look to take the lump sum or either partial lump sum on your pension. Now, it's really important to run all your numbers before making this decision. Don't just say, hey, Joe on Joe Knows Retirement said to do this. He specializes in pensions. We should probably do it. No, run your numbers and then decide if that makes sense. Now, it could make sense even if the numbers don't work to still take the lump sum. And scenarios where we see that is maybe someone's looking at maybe not having a longevity during their retirement, or maybe the pension options on a lump sum are much more attractive for them. But taking the lump sum or partial lump sum allows you to have, when you pass away, money in your pocket to now go to your spouse or to your loved ones in an efficient way. Versus if you take the pension, then you may not have that go to your spouse or to your children. And if that's the case, they're going to be left with nothing at that point. And so that's a big consideration with people taking those options at this point. Now, we have seen that these options have become more generous for people to take. And so you may want to really consider that if the legacy is important to you, to leave behind a lump sum. Now, obviously the con of making that decision is that if your pension is expected to be a really high payout and the lump sum they give you is not as generous, and you could be leaving a lot of money on the table if you live a longer retirement for yourself, or you could even look to just gift throughout the year, each year, from that pension to your children instead of taking the lump sum. Now, if obviously you pass away early, that could be a mistake, but if you live a long time, could be a great consideration. So again, run your numbers, see what that makes sense for you, but those are just some things that we've seen our clients do. The second consideration is when it comes to the survivor benefit on your pension. So if you really want to make sure you're leaving a legacy to your spouse, this is one you really want to look at closely. Now, oftentimes with the crowd we work with, they may not need to take this option because of how well they've done up to this point. And so if they don't take this option, it can lead to two things. It can lead into a higher lump sum amount, as we talked about, or maybe it leads to them taking a higher amount during their retirement, so that instead of paying the pension company for a benefit that they may never use, for example, if their spouse passes away first and they've paid into this and it's a sunk cost, so maybe take the difference of that cost and maybe you look to gift that to your loved ones each year. Or if you want to leave them something when you pass away, or ensure that your spouse has more than enough covered, maybe you look to do a life insurance policy or maybe a permanent life insurance policy so that you can have a death benefit in place, so that if you pass, a lump sum can be paid out tax-free to your spouse or loved ones or, maybe use it for long-term care tax-free in the future so that you can leave more of your investments to your spouse or to your loved one. So it can be smart planning in a lot of cases. And we've seen even in situations where doing the life insurance could add more coverage than taking the survivorship option, knowing that the cost for that survivorship option can be very expensive in many cases. And so again, run your numbers. It's going to be different for everyone, but this is one that people love to look at, especially if you're healthy, maybe you're a little younger and you can get some really good rates or decent rates on life insurance. And maybe that's going to be more of a reasonable, strategy for you. A third strategy considered to leave a legacy if you have a pension is gifting more now. So a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to give anything to my kids now. They're just going to get whatever's left when that time comes. Well, we know with those that we work with pensions and $1 million plus saved, in most cases, they've got way more than they need when they pass away. And so knowing that, a lot of times our clients regret not doing things sooner for their loved ones when they may be able to use this money in the best way possible now versus in 20 years when you pass away, or 30 years, or whatever that may be. And so think about it this way. They could be taking some of this money now and funding in Roth IRAs or funding Roth 401ks, or making sure they have enough life insurance and coverage for their young family, or making sure that they are paying off high interest debt, or making sure that they can have a down payment for a home, or whatever the thing that is that could help them put themselves in a better financial situation could be a realistic opportunity for you. And so, it's also important to make sure that your family is working with an advisor team to ensure that they are making the right decision with that money. That's the reason why a lot of clients like working with us with our family approach of serving our clients' children, to ensure that when that money's gifted, that our clients' children are going to use that in the right way. And if they aren't, well, then maybe that's a reason to not continue to gift them money as time goes. Or it could also be a test to see how are they going to do when you give them $5,000 a year or even more, versus giving them millions of dollars when you pass. And so a lot of clients really like that idea. It's just something they really haven't considered because they've always lived paycheck to paycheck. But now when they run the numbers and they see you've got way more than you can spend right now. And a lot of our clients, they don't necessarily love spending money. They get joy from saving money. They get joy from being frugal. And they don't live luxurious retirements. They don't need $30,000 to live every single month. And so if that's you, what else can you do other than spending it? Well, gifting to loved ones now could be a really wise consideration. So the fourth consideration, which is all about still gifting now, but let's now talk about, instead of our loved ones, what about gifting now to charities? So this could be your church. This could be charitable organizations that you're close to. Something I'm really passionate about is local charities. I love seeing the impact in our community of what we're doing, or maybe even international charities, knowing how good we have it here in America and how much opportunity there is to bless others in other third world countries or other places that don't have as much as we have. And so considering what that impact could be for you, if you are charitably inclined, if you want to be more generous with your wealth, then maybe you look to give it now so you can see the impacts. It may be more fulfilling, more rewarding to see what you're doing versus when you pass, leaving money behind, and now you may not be able to see what you have done at that point. And the other consideration here is understanding that if you're highly involved in a charity, wouldn't you rather your money be used for that? Is something that you could look at. So, for example, I have a charitable organization that's close to me here locally in Columbus. It's an AAU basketball program. So basically, it's helping those who are in high school, give them an opportunity so they have a better chance to play basketball in college, but also become better men so they can become leaders even in college and after college, is ultimately the hope of increasing their skill set and their demeanor to be able to be successful after that. And so that's something that I really like and I'm involved with. And so I like my money to go there because not only am I giving money, but I'm giving time. And that's where I can also give talents. And that can be where I make an even larger impact. So think of that for you. Maybe there's something that's really dear to your heart that you like to do that. And I can tell you, it probably is going to give you more purpose and fulfillment as well when you can utilize all three of those at this point in your life. And, again, if you have enough money to do so, instead of spending it, maybe that's a way that you can do is give more. And also the other side of that is you could find more charitable strategies by doing that too to reduce your tax burden. So you could look at things like a donor advised fund, which could offset your taxes so that you could do more Roth conversions and look to really put many strategies in place from a tax planning standpoint to put you in a better situation in the future. Or maybe if you're 70 and a half or older, or maybe you're earlier, and then when you get to that point, it's something you want to consider. You can give money from your IRA to a charity tax-free. And so it could be a great way to reduce your required minimum distributions in the future at 73 or 75, or a way to reduce your tax bill to keep you under Medicare tiers, or to keep Social Security less taxable. So, just being wise about how those strategies work together. Not only do you get to, utilize it for what your hopes are, but also saved money in taxes. And I always say, if I can choose where my tax paying dollars go to, I'd rather go to a charity versus an Uncle, with Uncle Sam and some of the policies and things that they put in place that maybe I don't technically agree with total. So I do, I'm okay with paying my fair share of taxes. I enjoy the roads I drive on and all the things that I get, but some things I just don't necessarily need, or maybe I don't necessarily agree with. And so I'd rather pay my fair share and not tip Uncle Sam, especially knowing that there's a whole tax code. There's a huge opportunity book that we can take advantage of to make sure we can lower our lifetime taxes. That's all legal. That's not going to put us in jail. And so why wouldn't we take advantage of those opportunities by being diligent and just reading what is in the book? And so we always encourage people, if you don't want to read the book, no problem. Just make sure you're working with a team who's done so already and has helped many people like you, so you don't have to worry about that consideration, but still be able to get all of the value that you can get throughout your retirement. The next consideration is maybe you're not wanting to gift now. Maybe you just want to gift when you pass away, or maybe you want to do both. Now, if you're going to gift when you pass away, we highly encourage you communicate this and making sure everyone's aware of what is likely going to happen. You're going to have a larger amount that's going to go to beneficiaries or go to charities when you pass away. And so, for example, if you leave $100,000 to a charity, they may not know what to do with it at that time. They may have been maybe more money than they've seen before. And so you want to make sure you communicate that, but also communicate your values of how you'd like that money to be used, so they are not blinded and wondering, this person gave me this much money, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what they would have wanted me to do with it. In my mind, that's a really poor place to be in, because you're not going to be able to see what you've worked hard for used the right way that you wanted to see utilized. So we encouraging children as well. Tell them how much are you going to be expected to leave them, and also telling them, hey, this doesn't mean that you can stop working and just expect this, because anything can happen. So it's also that side of it, but you don't want them to be blinded by it. But now where they're unsure, or maybe they just spend it on unneeded things. Most inheritances are spent right away. And so that's something we just always want to prevent. So that's why a lot of clients, again, like to work with us to ensure that that is going to be used in the most effective way. We already have a plan set up. We already understand the client's values, and we can ensure that's lived out moving forward. But also from a planning standpoint, we have to understand, if that's what we're going to do, the tax planning that comes with that. So we don't want to leave all of our money to the IRS, as we talked about. So if we're going to leave our IRAs to our children, understand they have to take it out in 10 years, and that could cause them to be in higher tax brackets and pay more in taxes than maybe what we could look to do now by simple planning as Roth conversion, so that they can have that money tax-free or things like that. And also, if we're going to leave to a charity, probably the best place to leave that money from is your IRA, knowing that it will be tax-free, leaving it to them. And then maybe we leave our non-qualified accounts to our loved ones, our children, because they get a stepped up cost basis. So now they don't have to worry about that tax burden at that time. And obviously the Roths, that's probably another one we want to leave to our children, because obviously that's going to be tax-free. Versus if you leave that to a charity, then, well, you've already paid your taxes, and it's going to be tax-free. But if you give it to an IRA, it's also tax-free. So that's an easy one to look at. And so with all that, knowing what those considerations can be, that's why we recommend for those who are going to be leaving wealth behind, significant wealth, and for most of our clients, we want to have what we call a family meeting. We want to make sure that we can sit there and be able to have the client express, what is the hope for this money? Why did they save and work so hard over the years? What did it mean to them? But also, what's it mean to them to give that money now to their loved ones, and how do they want to see it utilized? Now, obviously, you can't control exactly how they're going to do so unless you look to set up more sophisticated estate planning documents like a trust, which you can do. We've seen people do that. But it's really important to have that conversation. And I can tell you, you'll get some of the most tear-jerking feelings that you ever experience, because you're going to sit there and you could even go around the room and just ask, each of your loved ones of, hey, what is this going to mean for you? Or, hey, what is the biggest thing that I've taught you over all these years? Or give the clients the ability to tell them how much they love their family members. And so we've seen some really awesome conversations from this. Some people don't want to talk about money, but this is something we would highly encourage to get ahead of so no one's shocked. And also, as you know, there can be a lot of family problems that occur when a family passes away because someone said, I thought, mom said this, I thought dad said that, and there can be some really ugly scenarios. And so if this can be overly communicated and all questions can even be addressed before that time comes, then you're going to lean on everyone being on the same page, being connected when you both pass away to ensure that family legacy can live on further than your lifetime is ultimately the hope. So hopefully this video was really helpful for you in talking about a different concept that a lot of people don't like talking about it, but it can be really extremely beneficial. We're called to be the best stewards of our money, and that's something we take extremely seriously when we steward our clients' life savings. We don't just do that from a standpoint of making sure all the financial strategies are in place, making sure we're mitigating risks. That's all important. That's all stuff we do. But we also want to think about it as, what's the purpose of what we're doing? What's the impact going to be with what we've helped our clients steward? So, and if you're looking for this type of planning and you're looking for a team to be there for your family as time goes, this is the type of planning we do. You're more than welcome to schedule a 15-minute call with us to see if we could be a good fit. We just ask that you do a lot of research for us before you hop on that call. Read our frequently asked questions on our website there. Make sure you've watched enough of these videos to get a good understanding of who we are, to make sure that we can make an efficient use of our time, answer any questions you may have about us and how we serve clients, to make sure this could be a good fit. Because just as we're specific about who we bring on, we want those looking to work with us to be specific as well. So we want everyone to be educated and informed. We want this to be a great relationship moving forward. We know we don't have the capacity to serve everyone, but for those in that 2% club, those that enjoy the content, who feel like they connect well with us, we'd love to explore and love to see how we could help them moving forward, knowing that this is what we do every day. So that's all I've got in today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement, and we'll catch you on the next one.